mic, I'm right. Anything I do on this mic, I'm
Hey. Hey, y'all, happy Friday.
So keep your eyes like
Come on in. Keep cooking. Happy Friday, everybody. Hey, this is what we do. Hey, what about it, E? Happy Friday.
Listen.
Live on with Cannatalk with Roz and DJ Roz. Hey, what's
DJ
going on,
Roz?
brother?
Hey, you've been DJing all week long. You know what I mean?
All week long. Hey, listen, it's our anniversary, man. We're 5 years old. M4MM is in the building. We got an incredible show for you today. We gonna wow it out. Hey, talk to us. Go in the comments. Everybody go share right now. Go share. Hey,
You know what I want people to do? Drop in the comments right now. If you're listening right now, first and foremost, definitely go share with everybody. Y'all know we give fire. This Fire Fridays for us. So make sure you go tap in somebody who's not already in here and tell them they need to come listen in. But then, what I want y'all to do is, if you have connected with M4MM in any way, just tell us, real briefly how you met M4MM in 3 words, 4 or 5 words or less, since it's our 5-year anniversary. 5 words or less. How did you connect with M4MM? And drop that in the chat, man. We want to see some of these, connections that we've been making over the last 5 years, man. We've been creating impact across the country, and we're just super excited, man, to keep the party going. Monday was our 5-year anniversary, and we celebrated with a fire show. I hope y'all tuned in. If you haven't seen it, definitely go back and check the M4MM page, and you can see that. We had a great time. You got a chance to meet a lot of our chapter leaders across the country. Hear some stories about some of the stuff that y'all may have never heard about with M4MM. So definitely tap in, man. Roz, what's good, man?
Hey, let's get it, man. Let's get it. We finna bring our guest on. Let's get it. It is all about M4MM. Hey, bring them on in. Keep jumping. Hey. It's that Florida music. Hey.
If you don't know nobody, you better ask somebody.
Anything I do on this mic, I'm tired. Any club I go in and jam, alright. Turn it down, it's a bomb, it's high, alright. We be jugging, I can't wait inside, alright. We be swinging, on that left to right. This jam is right, but damn, no right. So keep your eyesight on me, alright. Good looking, keep jugging. They looking, keep jugging.
They looking, we jugging. Hey, they looking, we jugging. Hey. Welcome, family. What's going on, man? Hey, listen, we jugging today. We partying today on Cannatalk with Roz. E, bring in this is family, so we're gonna be just doing our thing. Welcome, DJ. Welcome, Mariella. Welcome, Nicole. We got some more folks coming in. I know they're gonna be probably late, but you know what? Let's start with DJ. Introduce yourself, DJ. Tell us who you are.
You're on mute.
Can we hear? I'm sorry. I was so hyped. I was so crunk. DJ Roz had us going. I am so sorry. I was excited.
Don't we bring you in? If we're going to bring you in, we're going to bring you in, right?
Bring you in, right.
Yes. And every time we get a late M4MM that's going to come on board, we're going to bring him in with some new music. So, DJ, introduce yourself, brother.
I'll be juking all day. So, hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is DJ Howard. I am the Florida Chapter Director for M4MM. 5 words or less. How I connected with M4MM, since that's what E asked. I connected with M4MM actually finding a Cannatalk with Roz and connecting with E. That's how I found it. Like, I was like, what's Cannatalk? That sounds like something I need to check out. And full circle, here we are 5 years later.
That's dope. That's dope.
That's wonderful. And we're so happy to have you, man. So happy to have you. Mariella, hey, my love. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and where you are.
Hello, everyone. I am Mariella with Rosebud Cannabis, and I am the director out here in Puerto Rico. And our goal is to help out not only the island, but to reach more of the Latin community. And I connected with M4MM, honestly, stalking all of y'all. I started off. I started off by listening to Leo Bridgewater, and I caught him when he was on one of these Cannatalks, and I started listening every Friday. Then from there, I reached out to Eric, and then he brought me in. He was like, "Wait a minute, you gotta meet Roz," and here we are.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. We're so happy.
To Puerto Rico in the building.
Hey,
Yes.
Retreat in Puerto Rico is what. Hey, listen.
Hey, I got the beat behind me.
We
ready?
Hey, I think I hear something. I hear something. Nicole, introduce yourself, sister. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Greetings, everyone from the West Coast. How y'all doing today? My name is Nicole Bafong. I am Western Regional Director for M4MM, and I met Roz in 2018, at the end of 2017, because of my cousin Takia. That's how I found out about M4MM. I was stalking her page. She had a podcast, and I saw you, Roz, in the picture with her, and I was like, you know this lady? I need to meet this lady. And an hour phone call later, and it was, like we were family. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Nicole, you've been with us for a minute now. You've worn several different titles throughout the organization.
Yes, I have.
Listen, we love you. We love you for the loyalty, for just seeing the vision and always finding ways to add value, man. And we just love you for that. Roz, I got a question for you, Roz. We always get questions, but I'm gonna ask you a question. How crazy has it been for you to be like a cannabis celebrity? Like when you go places and people are like, I've been stalking you, I've been watching you, I've been seeing you, I've been wanting to meet you. How has that been for you?
Before I answer that question, y'all, we gotta start the party
we got
again.
Some more people coming in.
Good looking.
Bring a new person. Mike is in the building.
Hey, Micah, what's up, brother?
Every time we bring a new M4MM person, we're gonna juke a little bit. So hey, Micah, we're so happy to see you. Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all. What's up, y'all?
Hey, what's going on? Micah is the M4MM DC chapter president. Introduce yourself, Micah.
What's up, good people? Glad to see you, Roz, Eric, whole M4MM fam. My name is Micah Garrison. I'm the Washington, D.C. Chapter president for M4MM. I've been with Roz in this wonderful organization for a few years, and greetings from the nation's capital, where we here in D.C. Love our cannabis, and we love to do it the legislative way. So, thumbs up.
Yeah, we love you too, Micah. So let me answer this question, Micah. This is gonna be just a free for all sharing. We've been partying. So you come in, anybody that come in new, we partying. But to answer your question, E, celebrity would be something that I would have a hard time swallowing that word, even though I do realize, and I didn't. It dawned on me when I met someone, and they was like, I've been following you for like 2 years, and I've been like, the joy and the energy that you get from people when I meet them in person, I think it's super, super dope. And I never knew in a million years, never imagined that I would be someone that, from an influencer or a leader in the industry, someone that folks would want to talk to or get to know or what have you. So it's been a dope experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think you always knew that you were going to be creating impact and influencing people. I mean, I think from the very start, that's what I got from you. But to see where it has gone, I know both of us have been in places where people have come up to us, and it catches us off guard, because that was never, the intention. I'll tell you one thing about Roz that I've always loved about her too, is that, her heart is in the right place. And we talk about this all the time. When you move and your heart is in the right place, good things happen for you. We can't stop life from happening, but good things happen to people who move when their heart's in the right place. And that's been one of the things that, Roz has been, true to ever since day one that I met her. So, but I'm excited, man, because some of y'all like Micah and Nicole, y'all been here a couple of years, man. Y'all seen the growth of the organization. Y'all seen the behind the scenes. Y'all seen the growing pains. Y'all have seen it all. You know what I mean? So I know that's partly what we're going to talk about today. Just those experiences, and I'm curious from like. We talked about on Monday, like I ran down my top 5 list of, experiences with M4MM. And Nicole, I got to go back to Georgia, man. Like you were Georgia chapter president at the time when we did that leadership retreat in Atlanta. And just, talk about, from being in the house. You know what I mean? Not even what happened outside. Just talk about from being in the house, what that experience was like for you.
Well, it really truly felt like a family reunion. It was so many people that I had never met, and we had an opportunity to come together for the first time and meet each other face to face. So you got to know people's personalities. I learned so many intimate details about my fellow cannabis advocates that, just made me realize how much more we're alike than we are different. And that felt like a blessing. It made it feel even more like family. The smoke room downstairs was a confessional.
What you say, confession room? Confession room? That's what you were absolutely
yes,
right,
it was the confession room.
There were conversations that were had that night that I would tell you, or not that night, but over many nights where it was just like you're there. And I remember it very distinctly at one point in time. I'm not even going to go into what the conversation was about, but I remember very distinctly at one point in time, I found myself as the only male in the smoke room. And the conversation that was being had, I was just like, okay. But, you learn a lot. And I think one of the things that I learned really and truly is that people have a lot going on that you never know. Like you just never know what's going on in people's lives and day to day, what has brought them to this plant, what keeps them around this plant. And, it brings that human experience to, what we're all fighting for and what we're doing, man. So, Michael, you were there too. How was that for you? What was that experience like coming from DC to the South? You know what I mean? How was that for you?
Hey, before Michael goes, I'm sorry. A little break. Hey, I got somebody else coming in. Hey, we got somebody coming in. Coming on in. Hey. What's up, Lawrence? Northern California, we partying. Hey. What's up, Lawrence? So listen, we'll come in, we partying. Anybody new that comes onto the scene, we partying for a second. Let me just first, before you answer that, Micah, Lawrence, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them who you are, how long you been with M4MM, and we're gonna keep it rolling. And we lost him. All right, Micah, answer that question. He'll be back. We won't start the music again, but he'll be back. Go for it, Micah.
Well, shout out to Lawrence. I haven't seen him since that retreat, actually. He's a funny guy, you know what I'm saying? So we got to link back up, man. He had me cracking up the whole time.
So when you respect, like when you knew you were coming down, you had never met anyone. You hadn't met me. You hadn't met. I don't know if we had met before.
No, we'd met, but I hadn't met anybody else.
You hadn't met anyone else. So mind y'all, guys, listen. This is how Roz get down. I'll meet someone across virtually online. And if you touch my spirit and you want to get down and help us to push this agenda out, I'll be like, all right, cool. You want this position? All right, cool. Let's make it happen. So Micah knows me, but knows anyone in the house. We talk about Atlanta, Lawrence. So Micah, what was your thoughts before you came in, and just kind of like just like E said, what was you thinking when you got there?
All right, so the way it's crazy. The way I met Roz was in DC, doing. I want to say it might have been through. She was just coming for some political stuff. So it might have been Congressional Black Caucus Week. I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. And I just rolled up on it. Me being the guy that I am. And I just, blacks and cannabis, I had to, I had to see what it was about. And I want to say Roz and I spoke for like a good 2 hours afterwards. And the vibe was strong. And I was letting her know all the stuff I was doing, and kind of, DC is a real unique place when it comes to this cannabis market, because there's no county regulation, there's no state regulation. It's really just city and federal government. So it's this real gray no man's land kind of thing where it's like the Wild West. And then basically, if it's Wild West long enough, it becomes legal. They just kind of like, it's basically grassroots that pushes the administrations to act. So Roz and I connected. It was wonderful, and we've been building over the months, and then leading up to this, this grand experience of folks, we coming down to Atlanta. So, like I said, Nicole was the chapter president. This one was hilarious. So we needed to get some goodies, and then our good friend the Cannatalk comes through. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Stanley.
with a doctor's goodie bag, and I was like, oh, these are my type of people right here, and we was just building. Lawrence kept us cracking up the whole time, and it was just a good vibe, and
the funny part is Lawrence, every 5 minutes he's like, all right, I need to get downstairs. He had the scene set up. He was taking those testimonials. Lawrence, tell us, we talking about Atlanta, our leadership retreat.
Yes, it was the best. I was looking at the footage yesterday. I know that there's some individuals that probably not rocking with us hard, but I looked at that whole 30-minute thing yesterday. Like, this is dope. Like, we still got to use that, Roz. I got all of everybody's question and answers. Why they, how they feel about legalization. It was just a dope. It actually turned into a documentary when you think about it, because everybody was expressing themselves, and it was beautiful to me.
Yeah,
I love it. I was a little scared.
And the party was dope too.
Yeah, the party was dope. The party part was dope, but I was like, ooh, I don't know about legalization and smoking out here. I ain't trying to go to jail in Atlanta. I ain't no cannabis. That was not the move, but I enjoyed myself. That was a very much a great memory in my life.
That's good. So, but they haven't heard from you. Tell them who your name, first, last name, where you're located, and just kind of how you connected with M4MM.
All right. Well, hi everybody. I'm Lawrence. Lawrence Gantt. Lawrence Manifest Gantt on Facebook. How did I come into this? Charles Wu was my conducer to M4MM. It was a convention, a cannabis convention that they were having in Oakland. He called me out the blue. Was like, hey, he was like, hey, you in Oakland, right? I'm like, yeah. He was like, hey, get down here right now. So when Charles called, he ain't never called me, never before in life, but when somebody of his status, who I respect, he called me. I was there doing 100 miles an hour, but I met Charles through working with Boyce Watkins and the cryptocurrency and all that other good stuff, and just me dripping cannabis in the group. Of course, everybody was turning their nose up at it at first, and then slowly but surely, now everybody in my inbox trying to get the cannabis hookup. And I don't know, me and Roz sat down and we was talking. So I let her know, hey, I got this magazine thing going on and I'm deep into cannabis. I even came with like a half a pound to the New West Summit because I knew I was going to make me some money out here.
I remember that. I remember.
And I just enjoyed myself. And me and Roz sat and talked.
I did not condone it. I don't want him to go. I love you, and I didn't want you to be going to jail over. But I will tell you this: if you go to New West Summit in Oakland, it was outside of Marriott. Like it was before. I mean, it's wild in Oakland. You just step outside; they right outside the Marriott, and everybody's just token up, doing their thing. I mean, it's liberating.
Remember the police? Remember the police was out there because the people inside the Marriott were boycotting. Remember they were on strike. Yeah. The workers were on strike, so the whole block had police around it.
Roz, I recorded you speaking with the megaphone and everything that day too. When you did, I worked in cameras, so I have the whole thing with you. Letting people know. I quote, you say, "Cannabis is community, aren't we community?" And everybody, the whole crowd, just was like, I was like, go Ross, go for your
I need to see this footage. I need to see this footage.
I have it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have all
man.
that footage.
Listen,
Hey,
it's
listen.
crazy because
Hey,
it's
Lawrence,
so
you
much
how
that
come
has
you ain't
happened.
never coming? Lawrence,
Go
we need
ahead.
you to come to DC some of these times, man, because whenever we come to DC, we turn up and we don't have that official footage, bro.
That is true. We have turned up several times.
Okay, well,
in
I mean,
DC
I
as
put it
well.
all online. I'll send you the link, but I have it. I do have the footage.
No, we need you, Lawrence.
2-3
Next
times.
time, I don't want old footage. I need you for new footage. You know what I'm saying? So this fall,
All I can-
CBC week, I need you here.
And
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
right there shows you like how M4MM, for like people who are outside looking in, we really are a family, y'all. Like people work with each other, not just through M4MM, but inside excuse me, side projects and everything.
A whole bunch of
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's been one of the most beautiful things about M4MM over the years is that we are this network of people who are all looking to build, all looking to as my mentor says, cooperation over competition. We're looking to find ways to work together, and that's one of the most beautiful things I think that this organization brings to the table, man. So, yeah.
I love it when y'all come to DC. It is one of my highlights when y'all coming on the hill and being able to set up things. Oh man, there's nothing greater than knowing we got a bunch of cannabis folks about to take over Capitol Hill for 2 days.
We agree, and we got to get everybody together.
We did.
Hey, so one thing I want to put out there, and I want you guys to weigh in on. We got a lot of people in our comment section that says, I'm still interested. How do I get into the industry? Where do I get in the field? Can you guys talk about like maybe then versus now? Marielle, let's start with you. Like, where were you 5 years ago compared to where you are right now? And is there a piece of advice that you would give people that are trying to enter in the industry?
Wow. 5 years ago, I didn't even know what cannabis was. It was just this thing that you did with your friends at parties, at get-togethers, and as soon as you saw everybody disperse in parties, you know where everybody was. And it wasn't until I had my daughter and I had to use cannabis. I had an injury after I had birth with her. And when I started really seeing the quality of life that it gives you in comparison to all these medications the doctors are just so quick to give you, that's where I really started to appreciate it. And that's where I really noticed, this is medicine. Whether you're doing it just to do it, whatever the case might be, it's going to help you one way or another. I always used to tell my husband, and he hates when I tell him that, like, until you don't smoke, don't come at me, don't talk to me, nobody can stand you. And he gets hot when I tell him that, but it's true, it calms you, it helps you, it mellows you out. And people don't really understand that. And the education, for as much as people think like, I've been doing this forever, I know all about this. People still don't really understand the medicinal part to it. Even CBD, a lot of people hate on CBD. And it's like, well, you can't be at 10 o'clock in the morning smoking where you're going to get stuck. Like sometimes you just need something that's going to cut the edge and is going to help you. So, you got to do what you got to do. When my husband told me we're going to move to Puerto Rico, because we're from Miami, so it's vertically integrated, I saw that there was no hopes, no chance of ever getting in the industry there. So when he told me, like, we're going to move to Puerto Rico, we're going to get into the industry, I want to open up a dispensary, I was kind of like, okay. And we started just networking and making connections and reaching out to the people that were doing it. And I just started educating myself little by little. So when he was, because it was kind of something like, we're going to do this in the future. So when he really, after I had my son, he was like, I think you shouldn't go back to work. I think this is what we should really do. And we should do this now. The dispensaries, they're up and running. They really got it going on over there. He did his research. We had came out here for my birthday. And I went back with my daughter and he stayed here and he went and he started figuring out who he had to contact, what he had to do. So when he came back, like, he was pumped. He was like, this is what we're doing. I'm in it to win it. And I was kind of like, okay. I never saw myself in the industry, let alone as a dispensary owner. And I didn't know anybody that was doing it. Like, I had a bunch of friends that, were selling it out their house as, their side hustle, but no one was talking to me about no licensing or applications or anything like that. And I didn't really understand the way that it was impacting our communities. I mean, everybody had something in their record for it. My husband, when he was 19, he got pulled over on Thanksgiving with like 2 dime bags, and it's been on his record ever since. And you don't really understand that until you're in there and you really see the impact that it's caused on our communities. So when we moved out here, I was welcomed by earthquakes and then the pandemic, and I thought the world was all gonna end, but everybody thought the same thing. And these dispensaries were pumping. I mean, even after the earthquake, nothing was open. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna like break into. And the dispensaries had these lines. Like, my husband was like, I'll be right back, stay with the kids. I was like, oh my God, the world is gonna fall on top of me. What do you mean? 2 hours later, he was like, oh, you won't believe this line. I was like, where have you been? Yeah. So that's kind of what left me here. Because I feel bad for him, because every time something happens, I'm quick to be like, we got to pack it up. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. But you start seeing it. And, I was having this conversation today. Shout out to the Cannatalk. And I was telling Stanley, like, I have such a giving heart and I love to help people. So when I start seeing how much help they need here, and this isn't like all the other states, like, they don't have the advocacy here. They don't have the transparency. They don't have the programs in play, but yet they still have an incredible program as far as you're not vertically integrated. The licensings are very feasible. There's more opportunities here.
So there's opportunities, but there's the education needs to be there so people can those opportunities.
It's still that gap.
Yeah. That is, it's crazy that you had to, it's crazy for anybody to have to uproot their family and move to another state to be in this industry. Let's just start there, right? Nobody should ever have to do that. And I'm sure you and your family feel blessed that you were fortunate to be in a position to do that. But DJ, let me ask you this, same kind of question. 5 years ago, you're in Florida, like Mariella was in Florida. 5 years ago, you're here in Florida. 5 years later, it's still a hot damn mess. Talk about what that's been like for you, the 5 years and now.
Yeah, so honestly, 5 years ago, I was preparing to move back to Florida. I was in DC, where Mike is now, actually. And right before I was about to leave, actually, on 9/11 in 2016, I got stopped in South Virginia, like southern, it's not safe for us down there in Virginia. And I got, for just a little piece, like a little half a joint, I ended up getting a possession charge, and I was already planning to move back to Florida. So at that time, it was like, man, I can't believe just this little joint that I had is causing me all this issue. So when I moved back to Florida, like a month later, that's when my girlfriend got sick. That's when we got hip to CBD. That's when kind of my interest in just the cannabis industry took on a completely different form, where it was like, this is medicine. Like, this is, like Mariella was saying, this is truly medicine that's helping people. Like, nothing that my girlfriend was taking was helping. Like, they prescribed her everything under the sun and nothing was helping. And once we started using CBD and looking at marijuana from a medical standpoint, it began to just change the way we looked at things. I was working for like one of the biggest advertising firms in the state that was here in Tampa at the time, St. Pete at the time. And I love marketing. I've been doing it like my entire life, but it wasn't fulfilling anymore. I was like, man, there's such a gap with me trying to explain to our families why this is essential for us to live, that it made more sense to me to move into that space and do that work. It felt more purposeful. It felt more impactful. It felt more helpful to people that I truly cared about. Like doing marketing for Walmart, like, you know, I'm a great marketer. Like, I'll tell you that, but Walmart don't need me. Like, it's Walmart. My people need me. You know what I'm saying? The minorities in this space who don't really have a voice, or who, to your point earlier, there's a lack of knowledge. There's like a gap there of understanding and education, even within our own communities, where I was like, this is way more important for me to do. So when the pandemic hit, I was really at a place where I had been looking for marketing jobs in the cannabis space, and that charge kept coming up. I kept getting denied just because I had this minor like possession charge, only offense I've ever had on my record. And that was what was holding me back for jobs that I was like overqualified for. So at that point, that's when I was like, you know what? I got to look at this from like a total like advocacy standpoint and just start with that. That's when my like education started turning up. I started Saved by the Treats. I started doing my own consulting work as far as with marketing in the cannabis space, because at that point it was like jobs, people aren't hiring. We're in a freaking pandemic right now. And then we can't really go outside. So I might as well, this is the perfect time for me to, you know, work on my own stuff. So, you know, the Saved by the Treats has been going really well. I got connected with Dashita, who is, you know, prominent. She talks M4MM all the time. And I started a podcast. She was one of my first guests on it. And then a year or two later, she was like, you really need to do this M4MM thing. I reached out, got in contact with E, and he was like, look, it's some stuff going on in Florida. I was like, tell me about it. Like, we got some issues down here. Like, my charge is about to go away, thankfully, because as crazy as Virginia is, they're moving in a more positive direction now. If that was in Florida, oh my God.
And can I just stop you for a second? I want everybody that's listening to us, DJ Howard is social equity. So when someone says, well, what's social equity? What does it mean? DJ Howard is the poster child of social equity, from his situation where you've had half of a joint get popped. It's on your record. You can't get a job. Thank goodness he was able to kind of recover from it. But still, imagine someone who does not have the resources. So I just want to say that because it always comes up. What's social equity? Well, this is it. And that's why, it's important.
You know what, Roz, you hit on something as well, because Mariella talked about uprooting her family to move to Puerto Rico to be a part of this as well. And I think that's what we're here really fighting for, right? Like, nobody should have to uproot their family to be a part of, to get access to this plant, to be a part of the industry. Nobody like DJ should have to be denied for a job. Y'all just heard him. He was marketing for Walmart, and then cannabis companies are telling him no. Like, what sense does that actually make? And we have to continue to, fight against that, continue to, like he said, for minorities in this space, it's hard to be a business owner and not also an advocate. Like, I don't know how you can do both, right?
It's impossible.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And now I want to add to that. One of the main reasons that I left Georgia is because I'm a cannabis patient, and having access to safe medicine in Georgia is impossible. You don't know what you're doing. It's not tested. And so moving to Nevada was one of my main reasons. I would have access to safe, regulated medicine, and I don't have to worry about going to prison for having cannabis on me. Because I remember when you were contemplating that. Georgia, driving around every day, going to get cannabis or having cannabis on me, I'm risking my freedom. And it was just a matter of time before that luck ran out.
And not having it on you, you were risking your life. I have to make that point because people need to understand the decisions that folks are faced with. It's like, do I take these meds that are giving me life, that are like literally allowing me to live my life, and risk going to prison? Or do I not take them and then risk the quality of my life being, much lesser than what it could be? Like, we should not be in those kind of, situations when we're talking about a plant, and Micah, you guys, like you said, y'all have this crazy situation up there, not being a state, and you go straight from city to federal. and there's no clarity on either level as to what can and can't be done. What is that like been like for you over the last 5 years when we talk about, you see all of these states how many states over the last 5 years have actually legalized, and then you guys are in a situation where you don't have a state that can legalize, and the federal level is still dragging their feet?
Great question. And if I were to answer the other one over like the whole 5-year thing, I've always kind of had this unique balance with my love affair with cannabis. Being from urban New Jersey, where basically the smell of cannabis is the door opener for police interaction.
Yeah.
And even though I'm straight A student, even though, captain the football team and all this kind of stuff, it didn't matter that, I'm from a family where I was blessed to have had my dad and my mom really be great influences and role models. They were good pillars of their part of the community and did their thing. So it wasn't like they would support cannabis because, if you're from a really urban area where you have gangs and drugs and you have violence, cannabis is often looked at as the gateway to all of those things. And people and parents who work hard throughout their life to put their children in a good position, cannabis is the last thing they want their children to be involved with. And it often came from a lack of understanding, over abuse of the plant, and then the correlation to cannabis being alcohol. So cannabis and alcohol being grouped together and the abuse thereof that was so rampant in our community with alcohol, and then just seeing the crack epidemic and seeing heroin. My parents grew up, they were coming of age in the 60s. Both of them were freedom fighters and did their thing. So they understood the free love weed and grass and all of that, but they also had to raise children through the crack epidemic, and they saw their peers go down through heroin, and the basic the common denominator to all of those was marijuana, was cannabis. So there was never a support from a straight and narrow path with cannabis. And then, like I said, I played football. I played football in college. So there was never a support from an athletic, standpoint with cannabis. And then professionally, jobs, you work in Washington, D.C. I was blessed to go to Howard University and blessed to take that education and move forward from there. And there's never any support in those areas of your life with cannabis. So if you're a person who was an advocate for cannabis and you're coming from that background, you kind of feel like an island. You're on an island, and the only people who are with you on that island are your stoners, or are your people who are considered to be your degenerates, or are your people who don't necessarily have access to the higher and finer things in life. And you recognize that this is an unrepresented community, especially amongst our people. You then recognize, that white people, that I won't just say white people, let's just say people who had access to a better standard of life. Who had access to better schools, who had access to better education, who had access to better jobs, were utilizing this plant and getting all the benefits thereof. And then our people were stigmatized and getting locked up for the use of this plant, and that there was a disparity in that, because if you look at that there's been research done on this plant for years, for 50, 60, 70 years. That's not Black people doing the research. That's not your average give his name on the corner that's doing this research. This is getting funded by people who have access. So that means that there has been a movement for a long time that just we as a people were not a part of. So that I was interested to try to figure out why we weren't a part of it, and then understanding the policing laws and understanding all that went down, and just the vertical penal system integration of marijuana and how it was a benchmark, how it was a foundation for that. And then that's why you wouldn't have the support from your clergymen, from your people in your community. And then there was just a complete lack of knowledge surrounding it. It put me in unique circles when I got to college. You know, it put you in this this speakeasy sort of environment where most of the times you interacted with the plant, you were, you know, you were, you know, my interaction was so so spiritual, so holistic. You know, I'm meeting so many guys who are Rastas, real Rastas, and we're reading the Bible, like just so much meditation. And then, you know, I mean, really getting in depth with true scripture, real analysis. And then other times you're watching football games and you're breaking down stuff. And then other times you're with artists, and then other times, then, you know, you start realizing that these people are going off to med school. And then you're around a whole bunch of people in med school and a whole bunch of people in den school. And then fast forward 5 years and 10 years, these are people who own practices and people who are surgeons. And then some people go off to the police academy, and some people go off to the FBI, and some people go off to the CIA. Yet these are still all people who understood the benefit of the plant. But we as a people, as a community, weren't really connected.
We isolated.
So being in Washington, D.C., there's like a tale of two cities where you have that one, and then it kind of allowed me to see that you don't necessarily have to be involved with the plant itself. I always use the Levi jeans scenario. You know, the Levi was out there for the gold rush. You know, you don't have to grow cannabis. You don't have to smoke cannabis. You don't have to be involved in THC whatsoever, you know. But if you want to be a part of the cannabis movement, whereas Roz was asking how people want to get down, there are so many other avenues rather than being a seller of the flower. There's so many other things that you can do that are tangential to cannabis. There's so many class. I mean, it's just so much.
It's so much.
And
you know what, Micah? What you're saying touches on two things that I'm picking up in there. Both, one, you know, reminding people that this industry is a true industry, and it's not just about those people who are growing it, those people who are selling it, and those people who are smoking it. Like if that's all you get from this industry, you literally are missing the whole picture, right? That's one thing. The other thing that I heard that I really thought was profound, and I want to pick up on it a little bit more, was that fact that Black people in this industry are not a monolith. Like we're not monolithic in any way. Our experiences, you know, although the stereotypes that you see and hear and are portrayed in the media will have you think that, you know, we are lazy, you know, unproductive, and our use of the plant is always in a manner of abuse, and not even, you know, in a manner of medical or spiritual and so on. And you know, it made me think a lot about how the first time I went to Cali, how there's such a very distinct culture, and it's very different than what I grew up around, what I saw here on the East Coast. And, you know, I'm curious, you know, keeping with that same question with Lawrence, over the 5 years, you guys have been legal for the last 20 plus years, you know, and over the last 5 years, you've seen this explosion of states come online. And I'm just curious from his standpoint, did we lose him? Is he still there? I was just curious as to how he's seen it, you know, from the Cali standpoint over the last 5 years, and you know, the here and now.
Yep. Lawrence, you there? You there, Lawrence? Yeah, and for everybody, Lawrence is in Northern California. He's in Oakland, so they really have a culture. You know, the birth of social equity started in Oakland. The conversation about social equity being able to identify policing areas, that whole mathematic or that whole process and mapping, that started in Oakland. They identify these hot zones and identify that where there was over policing, and that was one of the criteria. If you were in Oakland and you lived in this hot zone for 10 plus years, you would then be eligible, even if you had never been sent to jail, nothing like that. But if you lived in those areas, and for 10 consecutive years, you're able to be able to apply to be social equity. They really, you got people like Nina Parks and folks with Supernova Women and Hood Incubator, and some of those Northern Cali folks really sat down and was like, listen, we need to carve out, because something ain't right. Something's not right with the fact that we don't economically, the economic opportunity that this industry is presenting on one side, and the other communities are not even participating and not even having a chance to participate. And we've been going to jail. So, I think
Lawrence is having a little trouble with his connection. So he'll be right back.
Okay.
And something
on that, here in Puerto Rico, even though we have this amazing program, people are getting in, we have dispensaries everywhere, it's not decriminalized here. So you can literally go to the dispensary, you can go get your cannabis, but if you get pulled over and you have a lighter or rolling paper in your car, you're going to go to jail. And people are still going to jail. And there is absolutely no social equity here, which it blows my mind, because you have people that have been affected. I mean, you can hide the fact that Puerto Rico has such a huge problem with the opiums and the drug crisis here. And you can't get into a program that's making money, and you have family members that are in jail, they've gone to jail, and not only on the island, but back in the States. Like Orlando has a huge Puerto Rican community. Have you been to the Bronx? Like they're there. They've been affected by it. And yet they still don't have that opportunity to be able to jump into the market. And it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. I live in that Puerto Rican side of Orlando that you're talking about. Like, I literally live in the middle of it. But and we have all of the dispensaries around here. We have Columbia Care, we have Parallel, we have True Lead, we have Rise, all of them are right here. But they're not here for the community. They're here because they're located right next to the second largest school in the country, UCF. But the community is so just not educated on what is even happening. Like I meet people just in my local grocery store where we're talking, and we may talk about what I'm into and what I do. And people living in this very community with 5-6 dispensaries around them don't realize that we have dispensaries in this state. Like, I mean, it's right there in their face, and they still are not, this information isn't getting to our communities the way that we need it to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not, I was just going to say, because I wanted to add on something that she said about CBD and kind of tying this all in. One of the unique things about, and talking about like community and location, as you put on, Eric, like DC being such a federal city and so many people working for the federal government, CBD is a big part of the DC movement. And kind of like a lot of people CBD to medicate on their behalf because they do work for the federal government. And as far as location, kind of like I'm originally from Jersey, and shout out to Tahir Johnson, shout out to Eugene Monroe. Like those are two big advocates for what they do. But they're also located here in the Washington, D.C. area. And what I find that's unique about D.C. is a lot of people are not from D.C. and they're from their states, but they bring that culture of the cannabis industry and the cannabis knowledge back to their states. And they're able to get there. So like there are a lot of, like, for instance, how DJ said he was here in DC and then went back to Florida because of the way that DC is so liberal. You see so many people come to DC get a feel for what's going on, because again, like you said, Eric, there's that difference between the city level and the federal level. And because DC never had to hop over county and state rules and hoops and regulations, and there was always this gray zone, people who have been to DC love to take the DC model back to states that are on the brink or are on the verge of getting their cannabis licensing taking off. And again, like I said, big shout out to some friends of M4MM who are big proponents. And that's another way that M4MM is by peers and people who are friends of M4MM that are large in their own right. And I have a lot of that in DC. And they're in their own organizations, and they champion the M4MM cause, and that's a testament to you, Roz, and to you, Eric, because they see what our leadership is doing. And
we lost Mike, but he was going. But
I know.
Y'all forget Michael to talk, right? So, but I would like to say that it's critical that we do more partnership and working together with one another. Michael, your point about other folks talking about the work, and we're working and creating partnerships, I think that's critical for the success as we go forward. So as we're getting ready to get to that 10-minute mark before we wrap up for the day, we wanted to, Lawrence, we had talked about Northern California. Can you talk about the culture of legalization and the culture of cannabis in Northern California? Because that was the question we asked you before you dropped off.
Okay. Well, cannabis has been like a part of Northern California. I'm just going to represent, the Bay Area culture forever, ever since I've been a little boy. From rap music, from Too Short talking about, fire up a fat one. We like to roll them fat because, we ride to the beat to Richie Rich, and I got 5 on it. So the Northern California, the West Coast has always played a big part in this cannabis industry, all the way to Snoop Dogg and the Chronic and all that stuff. So weed is kind of like, has been like, I guess ever since they deal with it like the hippie days out here. Everybody smoking, and once it got legal, people really, just start doing the food, because it was illegal. You couldn't smoke weed, and then they came with the licensing if you had a card. So everybody had to walk around with these little cards. But it was funny, the police could kind of still give you a ticket. A few of my friends went to court, and a judge said, "I'm gonna let you go, but you know that this is bullshit." Basically, it was just something that they just said, okay. Basically, I knew that they was just creating a database for smokers and who was smoking, because that's what they did. And then, Oaksterdam, all that stuff started. It just became just like a free fall, just weed. And it's crazy, because hearing you guys talk about the equity programs and things of that nature, it's like everybody just give weed away out here. Literally, though, we have sessions out here every day of the week. There are 5 to 6, they call them sessions, that you can just go to. With COVID played a big part in that too, and in it being shut down. But slowly but surely, people are holding private sessions and things of that nature. But the big thing about cannabis out here now is that the equity programs and people who have caught those cases, they are now being gamed up. About getting these dispensaries and mobile dispensaries. So that's the hit thing that a lot of people in the Bay Area are doing now, is trying to collect these equity applicants, and do that. It got deeper out here because some other people who have big money have now been paying for people to get the equity applicants. They're basically renting people now.
Well, they was doing that 2.5 years ago, so that ain't nothing new. Like, and I'm sure it was even before I came on the scene. But that was, they call the social equity applicants chips, and the more chips that you have, the more opportunity that you possibly may have to be able to have your own. Because their social equity program in Oakland is based on pairing. You have a general applicant that's well funded. He then is supposed to incubate the social equity applicants. So they would call, the social equity applicants chips. So the more chips you have, the more likelihood that the general applicant would get his he wanted.
Back.
Yep. I was explaining how it's been 2.5 years with this whole renting out of social equity applicants, and I'm hoping that there's going to be some change in the way that's managed and changing that whole system. And we keep losing Lawrence.
We lost him again.
We lost him again.
That equity piece, I think, was also, like you said, it was the first of many models we have seen since then. It has been successful for some. It has been highly unsuccessful for others, And that's something that I think we're going to continue to learn more about, and as we see different models and try different things. But, I think that's one of the beautiful things about M4MM is that this organization was never to be a fly-by-night type of organization. We do see this to be, to be around 20 years from now, when legalization has been across the country, but we still have to be at the table fighting for our communities, fighting for our folks to be able to have a seat at the table. And so, that's just.
And M4MM is international. Right, we are affecting. It's not just here. We are, thankfully to my mentorship from Roz and Eric, I'm able to help consult on legislation in a country like Trinidad and Tobago, and that's because of the work that I've done with M4MM, and so I'm grateful for the reach that we have, because it's not just here. It's anywhere that Black people are. It's anywhere that anybody that has been disenfranchised by the war on drugs is, and that happens to be the minority normally.
And that's going to increase over the years as well, because Billy said something on Monday that I thought was so profound. Everybody is waiting on the U.S. to figure this out. Once the U.S. figures it out, other countries are going to start to move. And you're absolutely right. We're going to have to be much more, mobilized in places outside of the U.S. To make sure that those conversations are not excluding the people, the very communities that bore the brunt of when this was,
and to piggyback on that, that's exactly uniquely why I was saying DC is a unique epicenter of that, because so many people, again, everybody comes to DC from so many different states. And I was telling people for a while that New Jersey is going to be the East Coast ground zero. And whatever New Jersey does, you'd see the dominoes, because New York was going to say, okay, we're not going to roll it out until New Jersey because we'll let them make the mistakes. And then basically everybody's going to follow what New York does, because New York has that imprint across the country. And then Virginia, it was kind of like clockwork. Then Virginia says, okay, we'll be.
But listen, Virginia kind of surprised me. They took off and was like, Virginia beat New York. So we just don't know how it's going to shake out. But I want you guys to think about this, and I want to go round robin. You got about 60 seconds per person. I'm going to start with DJ. What's the future? What's your hope of the future in the next, let's say the next year or two, for the industry or for yourself, or what are you excited about, or what makes you that keeps you up at night that you are thinking about and hoping for?
The people. I mean, there's just so many people who can benefit, whether it's medically, whether it's in their own business, whether it's getting a job. There's just it's just so many people, and I think that we've done some amazing work. But even now, seeing how big the cannabis industry is going to continue to grow and to be, that to Nicole's point, even when we have federal legalization and, we have the social equity that we're looking for in the states, we're still going to have to keep a watchful eye on what's going on. Like, the work is not going to be done. And then from an international standpoint, the work is not going to be done there either. And for me, the whole reason that I wanted to get involved into the cannabis space is because I knew that there was a community of people that looked like me that could really benefit, and they were not at the time that, I had this, mind-blowing revelation and said that, I want to move into a different space. For me personally, I'm doing some things with my own business as far as expanding out my products and doing different things. Shout out to E, who has been incredibly helpful as far as like things going on in the state of Florida, working with the Department of Agriculture and stuff like that. doing more healthy, more wellness driven products, and then really just being able to see Florida take a step forward, a positive step forward. We have issues. People know that Florida has some serious things that we need to work on, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a fight, but 22 is right around the corner, and I think that we have a great opportunity. That this is a moment that if we can take advantage of this moment and this opportunity, we can really turn some things around and do some incredible work here in Florida. And it's my home. To Michael's point earlier, I wanted to move to DC because I just love I visited a few times. I just love DC. But being there for 4 years, I realized that, there was a lot here that I had been open and exposed to that I needed to take back home and to be able to help like my family and my friends and people that I've been around for the majority of my life. So that's what I'm looking for. I know that was probably a little bit longer than 60 seconds.
A little bit longer, but that's okay because it needs to come out. That needs to come out, the sharing where you see the future and where you hope to be. Nicole, you're next. Your future, next year or two. What are you hoping for? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about now that I manage 8 states, including Hawaii in this region. It's interesting just learning from everything that is happening. I get to see how sneaky these politicians are being with legislation and their deadlines and when you can make comments and when you can't. And so learning all of this is just helping prepare me for my future goal of moving to the Caribbean and being instrumental in the Caribbean's outrolling of legalization there, because they're still at the forefront. And so, I also am interested or excited about really creating my own platform and coming out with my own brand that allows me to help with all these resources. Thanks to Roz for helping me with that. But, understanding that I want to have a long-term opportunity with this industry, and I'm not touching plant, not yet, at least. I do in the future plan on coming out with a product that's going to help with individuals that are suffering from autoimmune disorders like myself, and really using the plant and its potential to do that and come out with something. So I've been meeting with my ancestors and really getting a good idea of what that looks like. But the future is definitely getting to the Caribbean, moving to the Caribbean, and being instrumental in what's happening there. But for the next 2 years, 3 years, learning everything that I possibly can and being impactful here in the Western region for M4MM. And yeah, that's the goals right now.
That's awesome, Nicole. Thank you for sharing. Mariella, you up next, girlfriend. What do you see the next year or two for yourself, for the organization? Shoot it to us.
Well, here, our goal is to start positioning Puerto Rico to move into the adult use. I want to be at the forefront, helping write the policies, making sure that it's going to be done right. I want to make sure that we got home grow. I want to make sure that we are going to be allocating revenues back into the community. I want to make sure that we have medical programs, especially for our veterans and our senior citizens, to access medical cannabis. I want to make sure it's going to be done right and help more social equity, open the gates to have more private and public investors come in and help the small folks, and just really position Puerto Rico to where if you don't want to go to Colorado and be in the cold, you come to Puerto Rico in the sunshine, and you get into the industry here.
Yes, girl, yes. You sold us. Hey, listen, you sold us, Mariella. We're with you. I love it. And don't forget about decriminalization on the island. We don't want folks to be able to act.
Yes. I mean, that we're already working that. We're already pushing that. I'm working with Danielle, for those that don't know, with the Clean Slate program to get that here. Like, that is our #1 goal before we do anything here. So we definitely need to decriminalize. We need to expunge, and we need to get applicants applying for social equity out here. So, I mean, we got a lot of work here, but that's what we're family here. We connect with everyone. And I mean, I'm gonna just say real quick, that I became a chairman, part of the Chairman's Club because of that. Because you meet the people, you connect, and you start Okay, you did it like this, you did it like that. Okay, let's go. I mean, that's how we get it done.
Say something about that, because I was gonna say that Mariella is a serial entrepreneur. Her and her husband, don't let her fool y'all. They out there on it, man. They building an empire in Puerto Rico right now.
And E, can I just tell you, why does Mariella have better connection way in Puerto Rico than we get with Lawrence out in Oakland? Like, listen.
You know?
Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Listen.
You know, and if one steps wrong, I'm losing power.
We can hear you good. You're not staticky. You're not coming in. I'm like, God dang, why can't we get Lawrence? But Mariella, we love you. We love your energy. Micah, she's definitely coming to Black Congressional Black Caucus Week with us. We bringing Mariella. We bringing the Puerto Rican fire. We're gonna have her represent. We're gonna walk those halls in DC, advocating for the things that we think are important. Micah, what do you think? What do you want to see? What's your hopes for the next year or two?
Personally, for the next year or two, a couple of years back, my wife and I were blessed to sit down and look at the market, look at where DC was going, and she inspired me, had my back, and I started an I-71 compliant company that focuses on holistic health wellness, focuses on products that cater to women, a lot of especially in particular autoimmune disorders like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. Have a plant. I work with locally grown Maryland plants. Shout out to Hope Wiseman, M4MM president out in Maryland. From Maryland. Yeah, but there's a lot of farmland out in Maryland, and so really working with the CBD industry out there, working with topicals and things like that. So I'm looking for the next few years to be grand as we continue to grow our products. But then as far as what DC is doing as a whole, still looking, just loving the collaboration we have here on the ground floor. People like Jay Mills and the folks that are just out here in DC working hard to move it, like social equity, and just move it forward. And then just as we get things together here in the nation's capital or for the national level, I think that as you see, there's a national movement growing and brewing. So I think there'll be a lot of collaboration with people from many different states and just from all around. And I think that we have an opportunity to be a leading light, as Eric said, and as each one of us gets our states together and our regions together, I just look for M4MM to continue to grow and spread like an ink blot across all, so that all that use cannabis and that are a part of cannabis know the influence of the minority impact.
Man, Micah, I just love you. I miss you, brother. I miss you. I miss all you guys. I love you guys all. Thank you for believing in M4MM. You see the vision. We started, it was just helping people, serving community. Stanley Atkins said, keep it strong. We love you, Stanley. Guys, you know what? Cannatalk with Roz. It'd be fire every Friday. Be blessed. Stay connected. Let's get this work done. Eric Range, take us home, brother.
Yep, man. It's fire because it's for the people, by the people, of the people. And listen, we're going to keep it that way. And that's how it is. So to all of my peoples listening in right now, again, we thank y'all for tuning in every week. My message, as always, go home this weekend. For real, y'all. Love on yourself. Love on your family. Get some rest. Because Monday morning, we got work to do. And we're going to hit the ground running. We'll see y'all back here next week on another episode of Cannatalk with Roz.
Love you guys. And we're going to go out with a bang.
Hey. Love y'all. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, M4MM.
We are one. All you want to figure out. We are one. No matter what we say,
Shout out to the whole M4MM family, y'all. We love y'all.
Love.